Welcome to the TrueLife News Show. Today, guys, this is it. This is the fight, the final fight. Whatever happens after this, it's done. Our country will move in a direction, and that's going to be that. The Supreme Court showdown begins. We are seeing the first ruling, the first emergency rulings coming forth out from the Trump administration, the Supreme Court, the Doge team, Elon Musk, Jim Jordan, who, guys, out of everything that's coming out, I'm just surprised and happy that he's in the fight. I mean, he's fighting more than Mike Johnson is fighting, guys. They're fighting with the federal district rogue judges. All this is happening now. Late last night, emergency Supreme Court rulings and the Trump administration were fighting, going back and forth over all these new things that are happening right now, which we're going to get into. The Trump administration told the Supreme Court to allow Musk's Department of Government and Efficiency into Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security to allow them to see the data on the hundreds of millions of Americans so that they can figure out what the heck is going on. He said we need them to audit the entire systems because we know there's fraud, waste, and abuse. Guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are you okay with this? I am, but this is something that's a big fight right now. The emergency appeal that's now at the Supreme Court is putting Doge front and center. Guys, this is the fight of our lives right here. We spend the most amount of money on Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, those three programs with our taxpayer dollars as a country. That's where most of the money goes to. That's where most of the money is going to go to. And now we're fighting tooth and nail just to be able to audit it. Now that it's reached the Supreme Court due to the emergency rulings, guys, they're fighting to get access to this government databases so that Musk can use what they have already found in the other databases to audit and make sure there's no fraud, waste, and abuse. Trump said the government cannot eliminate waste and fraud if district courts bar the very agency personnel with expertise and the designated mission of curtailing such waste and fraud from performing their jobs. Guys, how plain and simple is this? It is mind-blowing. We're trying to catch it all. It's at the Supreme Court right now, guys. We got Elon Musk, Jim Jordan, Trump, and it is going down. Let me know your thoughts in the comments because I'm telling you what, if there's anybody that's going to hold him accountable, it's this guy and it's you. But there's somebody else, guys, which I love. Tom Fitton. You know this guy who's over the Judicial Watch is opening another lawsuit against the DOJ and the FBI. This time, I mean, dude, I love this, what I'm telling you right now. He said, when will Attorney General Pam Bondi prosecute Merrick Garland for defying Congress? He said, why do only Steve Bannon, and Navarro go to jail, but Garland gets a free pass? It's time for accountability. Bondi, Kash Patel are doing good work, but we need to be more aggressive. Why are we waiting so long to go after these Biden officials, which we know have broken the law, are corrupt, and need to be held accountable? This is what I'm talking about, guys. We got people on our sides, and guys, I'm telling you, this is only getting better and better because more people are saying, what are we going to see from this Justice Department? We want to see people arrested. We want to see the people that use lawfare against Trump, the Jan 6ers, all the censorship. We want these people held accountable. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys. We got a ton of breaking news to get into today with the Supreme Court, the emergency rulings, Trump, Jim Jordan, everything. Want to say thank you to everybody who is watching, guys, to all of our subscribers, guys. Y'all are the best. Thank you so much for your support. And thank you to everybody, guys. When you give a super chat, you're a member of the channel, you support us in growing this community and giving back. So if you're not subscribed, please consider joining our family here at TrueLife News. We want to take care of you every day with the top news, guys. And if you don't mind doing us a huge favor of hitting that thumbs up like button, we got some stuff to get into today. We are starting to see the Democrats turn on each other like never before, but this is perfect because this is where we go in to fully expose the darkness, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Check this out.
To win, but you can't win with Democrats who hate men. And they're starting to hate Nancy. At least she kept them disciplined. But Hakeem doesn't want anything to do with her because he doesn't like women bossing him around.
Whoa.
I was hearing from leadership staff that the leadership on Capitol Hill right now wants to sort of move away from that Pelosi era, that they want to, that they don't want to embrace anyone or anything that's like Pelosi, which I just think is the dumbest SHIT ever.
That's crazy.
Members don't want any Pelosi. She's the baddest in the business. We actually landed punches. We actually won 40 seats. I'm just surprised that they're not calling everybody that has landed some punches on Trump, asking for the best advice.
If Nancy didn't have a busted hip and the coup goo sticking to her, she'd be the tip of the spear. But Hakeem's had it with her, and he'd rather do sit-ins and sing-alongs with his boy Booker. Pelosi says Hakeem has a big head.
So I'm not sure why they're not drawing on her more often. But it's probably an ego thing. I mean, I hate to say it. And part of the challenge, too, is, people want to establish themselves.
Right.
And how do you establish yourself if you have, And also, too, Pelosi, I can imagine, I've not seen her much since she stepped down. It's hard to be a boss and not be the boss.
Right.
Guys, let me tell you this. You think that this right here, this implosion is happening for nothing? Guys, look at this right here. You've got now records. This is why none of these people want to stand up anymore. This is why Pelosi and all of them, they're backing away, is because now that the DOJ is investigating everybody, we now have Adam Schiff, who has been has these explosive allegations of mortgage fraud, voter fraud, and election misconduct spanning nearly 20 years because all these things are coming out. This is why, as much as Pelosi wants to be in charge, she's not getting in charge. The Democrats are imploding because they're catching all of them with all this fraud and abuse, guys. They abuse the system and they're finally being held accountable, guys. This right here is some of the best news I've ever reported, guys. That Adam Schiff literally has, with all the stuff that they found, mortgage fraud, voter fraud, and election misconduct over 20 years, everybody. You appreciate this. Show some love in the chat, guys.
I mean, so it's hard to bring somebody like her into the room and she not take over the whole strategy.
Pelosi thinks Hakeem's off message, undisciplined, and 100 days in, she's giving him and the whole party a C+. Hakeem's about to flunk out of school. But Kamala's getting her groove back.
Have you learned the boots on the ground dance yet?
I have not.
Guys, we're not going to watch this because it's too cringy. I'm sorry, but yeah, I
think I speak for everyone at the White House. We encourage Kamala Harris to continue going out and do speaking engagements.
Obama's still playing puppet master. First Clooney. Now he's sending Van Jones out to find one black voter who says, I should have listened to Barry.
If you had to do it all over again, would you vote for Donald Trump again, yes or no?
Yes, I would.
Boom, baby.
Now, in the future, I am not a diehard Democrat or diehard Republican. If there were a Democratic candidate who was more aligned for me, then I would vote Democrat.
If you go back in time, would you vote for Donald Trump, yes or no?
Yes.
I think I might know the answer on this next one.
She said yes. It's immediately yes. No, I'm sorry.
If you had to do it all over again, would you vote for Donald Trump, yes or no?
1,000% absolutely.
Let's go.
No one really thinks Kamala can run again. Even the media is admitting she's a fraud. Remember when 60 Minutes hacked up her interview? Well, they're getting nominated for an Emmy for Outstanding Edited Interview Award. I'm serious.
No way.
Guys,
if you love this guy, show some love. If you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button. They literally are nominating her 60-minute fraud interview for an Emmy for how well it was edited, guys. You cannot make this stuff up. Brian McGavick 20 True Life News gifted memberships. Let's go. Show Brian some love in the chat, guys. That's OG status right there. Growing the True Life News family, guys. We're bringing the news, growing the family. I love it.
And now they're giving each other awards for it. CNN's warning Democrats, stay away. She's trouble.
It's not just about regretting that vote. It's literally saying who would be doing the better job right now. And Trump continues to score a higher percentage of the vote than Kamala Harris. It's not even close. It's an 8-point advantage, which in this politics, well, that's a wide ocean.
It's huge and maybe tells the Democrats that their messaging is not working.
Democrats don't have the cards. And 100 days in, they still don't know how to deal with Trump. They're shacking up with MS-13 and Steven Spielberg's so ashamed he stopped helping them produce videos. Watch.
I'd rather have 100 bad haircuts than to deal with 100 days of Donald Trump.
I'd rather have 100 vaccination shots in my arm.
I would rather have to take 100 scammer calls than go through the last 100 days.
I would rather sit on Interstate 84 in a traffic jam for 100 hours.
I'd rather cook 100 family meals, and believe me, my kids are going to find this very funny, than 100 days of Trump.
Democrats are getting laughed at in newsrooms. And late nights trying to make this guy Pritzker a thing. Cooking up nicknames that Trump should have given him.
All right, you ready? Here's the list. JB Pizza. I like this. JB Back Ribs.
Guys, I'm not getting in trouble. These people, you gotta watch them.
Hungry for JB Back Ribs. Although Jazzy's a little more appetizing, not to be confused with Davy Crockett, says it feels like Trump's trying to kill her.
Same thing as it relates to the planes that are falling out of the sky.
Right.
We need some real transparency and we need some honesty and we need to make sure that the American people are just as enraged as we all should be.
Right.
Guys, right now the Supreme Court and Trump are in a fight right now. It's a showdown, and even Jim Jordan's got involved over getting transparency over our social security systems, Medicare and Medicaid. Where are the payments going? How much fraud is in there? These people are such big hypocrites, and it blows my mind because, again, too, everything that they say they want, they don't do, and everything that they say that Trump has done, that Trump hasn't done, and they've done.
Because this administration is truly trying to kill us, it feels like.
Trump's not the one with blood on his hands. He didn't open the border and let killers in. The only person who's confident is crooked.
At the end of the day, we will defeat these people by winning elections. I mean, even if we win every court case, we still have to figure out how to get that enforced. Even if the press does lots of exposés, you're dealing with an administration that has no shame. They don't care that they are, being seen as corrupt or cruel or whatever. That is kind of the brand.
Democrats shouldn't take advice from Hillary. Bill maybe, not Hillary. House liberals they don't even want to wait until the next election. They're ready to impeach. But one House Democrat said, the guy got impeached twice. How did it work out for us? Democrats learn nothing. They're just getting dirtier. Look at what they're doing to Fetterman. Today, New York Magazine dropped a bomb, saying his staff thinks he's mentally unfit and can't do the job. They say he's erratic and impossible to work for. That's funny. We think Fetterman's been making more sense than ever. It's no secret Democrats didn't like when he went to Mar-a-Lago, and apparently he was considering voting for Hegseth. Oh my God, that was the last straw. Now they're leaking that Fetterman's catatonic, can barely string two sentences together.
Wow.
Walks around his office in tight loops. And
guys, are they not turning on themselves? He shows the slightest inclination to support Trump in some of his policies, not all of them, some of his policies this Democrat has, and now everybody is turning on him, guys. This is what you call implosion of the Democratic Party. They can't handle it. They're going to eat themselves alive. I promise you, the Democratic Party is done. A lot of people are saying it, and what I'm going to show you next, it just shows you they are done.
Engages in risky behavior like FaceTimes texts and reads news articles while driving. Well, I think we're all guilty of that.
Ain't that the truth?
They're also reporting that his staff took away his social media passwords and were engaged in secret conversations with his doctor behind his back. Fetterman denies all of this and says they're quoting disgruntled staffers. Kind of sounds like they're trying to 25th Amendment him. The only Democrat who speaks his mind. The only one with a shred of independence. What does it say about the Democratic Party that they can't tolerate a single senator not towing the party line?
Guys, let me tell you this. This right here is the showdown, guys. Trump brings the Doge fight over access to Social Security data to the Supreme Court. Guys, this is huge. The more that this came out last night, we're seeing these emergency rulings. They're about to be ruled on in the next day or so. They're talking about them today. They're fighting over them today, guys. This is insane. But what I love is the American people are seeing it. They have seen fraud, waste, and abuse at the highest level. And now they're seeing the Democratic Party implode. And now that they're seeing, guess what? There may be something wrong with the Supreme Court. Let me know your thoughts in the comments because, again, we bring everything, guys. They can't handle it. They can't even handle this right here, which I love. Guys, if you love this, let me know your thoughts in the comments. The White House literally reposted Donald Trump's post of him looking like the Pope. He is such a troll right now. But what I love is what this person said. Humor. We've lived under the tyranny of political correctness for so long, we are shocked by humor. I think it's hilarious, and a post like this with Trump in the White House is what makes X special. 100%, guys. Show your love for Pope Trump. Guys, he ain't gonna be the Pope. It's just a joke. But it literally throws these Democrats into the craziest mindset with their Trump derangement syndrome. But it's, you know what? It's a good laugh. It's good to laugh, guys. Appreciate y'all so much, guys. I just show Brian McGavick some love in the chat, guys. Got this huge super chat. Got the gifted 20 True Life News memberships. If you got a free membership, show them some love in the chat, guys. But what I love next, guys, is, again, their strategy behind everything we're doing. Their strategy behind what pieces are happening and exposing the rhinos. Watch this.
This budget, I'm kind of confused. I'm confused because it's a good first cut. It clearly doesn't have the cuts we were hoping for. But more importantly, I'm confused in that it looks like it's a dramatic increase to defense spending, yet the defense, the Cardinals in the defense, particularly Wicker of Mississippi in the Senate and others in the House are coming after MAGA and coming after people like you, like you're trying to slash the defense budget in half. Just so step back for a second and make sure, let's get the confusion out of here. What in the hell's going on?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Hope to see you here tonight. We're here obviously supporting a great organization, but most importantly, an organization that was started by Russ Vought, who's obviously the head of the Office of Management and Budget for President Trump. And he has sent out today a very strong budget. Now, it's very complicated. Let me see if I can break it down really quickly. Number one, what are the principles involved? You and I think, both agree. The defense establishment, right? The defense bureaucracy needs to be cut significantly, right? We need to stop, building our defense based on whatever K Street says. So what we're trying to do now is do two things. Fix that and simultaneously stop allowing Democrats and squishes and swamp creatures to drive up non-defense using defense as leverage. So what we did this time, and I think it was pretty creative and smart, and I was working with Russ on this from the beginning, was that we said, look, we will put some money into mandatory, into the reconciliation budget in the debate, right, in the fight. So we've got 100 to 150 billion sitting there, depending on if we can get that done. But that money will be used and freed up for President Trump and Pete Hegseth and them to do it without all the swamp creatures getting their hooks into it. They can go modernize the military. They can do drones. They can do missiles, Golden Dome, whatever the president believes is important to actually defend our country, peace through strength, not endless wars, not whatever K Street wants. But importantly, in doing that, our part of the bargain was we would only think about doing that, and it hasn't done yet, if they would send up a budget that was responsible. And what is that? Flat defense spending, hold it flat, go find ways to, use whatever you need for troops. And then number two, cut non-defense. So Russ sent up a budget that cuts that non-defense budget by 20%, which takes it back to pre-COVID 2017 levels, slashes the woke and weaponized bureaucracy significantly. Now, we got to go through all that. We got to deliver. But that's the budget that he sent up. That is an important step to reset this town and to frankly realign all the power structures. That's why Mitch McConnell hates it. That's why Wicker hates it. To his credit, Lindsey Graham has applauded it because we worked with Lindsey from the beginning as the Budget Committee chairman. Now, look, he's a hawk. I disagree with Lindsey a lot. He likes a lot more war than I do. But Lindsey understands something here, that we're trying to change the paradigm, change the town. Russ is doing it.
Guys, this is so important. I don't understand how we want to be fiscally responsible, how we want to move towards not being in we want to actually pay down the national debt, yet nobody wants to cut the freaking budget. We spend $1.5 trillion on Social Security, $1.84 trillion on Medicare and Medicaid. We pay over $1 trillion on the national debt interest. And then we pay $1 trillion on national defense. So you tell me, we got to cut somewhere. Trump said he ain't touching Social Security or Medicare or Medicaid. So you can't touch the interest. You got to pay the interest. So the next thing is the national defense. There's so much waste, fraud, and abuse. You've heard of it, guys. $1,000 hammers. $15,000 toilets. There is corruption and fraud in there. And what I'm looking for is cuts. If you appreciate this, guys, if you don't mind hitting the thumbs up like button, thank you so much for your support. Guys, we are moving towards fiscal responsibility, but we have so many rhinos in the system that are fighting tooth and nail to preserve every single penny because somebody, a family member or them or somebody is getting paid. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
President gets it. Lindsey gets it. A lot of us in the Freedom Caucus and conservatives get it. I don't want to spend more money on defense without getting actual assets and modernized military so we can stand strong and peace through strength. That's what this is all about. Beat the war hawks and the swamp creatures.
So let me ask you, when you say flat, you take is that the $858 billion from the last defense authorization? You take that as a baseline and you hold that flat?
Yeah, you take the number, I think it's 870 something is the total number, but you take that defense number and you keep that flat in this budget. The non-defense get cut by $163 billion, which is 20%. That's a lot. And that's good. We'd be cutting a lot of stupid crud. And when you do that, then simultaneously, while we're doing reconciliation, we put $150 billion, probably, it's 100 to 150. We set that aside without letting all of the, lobbyists and all of the appropriators get their hooks into it. And we say, all right, Pete, all right, Mr. President, go do what you need to do to make sure our military is not woke, to make sure the battleships are battleships, the carriers are carriers, the missiles are missiles, and that we can, be strong against China in the future.
The reconciliation being a one-time good deal, $150 billion, one-time, flat line on the 870, and that'll either increase or decrease going forward. But that's the baseline for that's how you get over the trillion. But it's the 150s only one time. How? So for the audience, how can Wicker is like you and Vote have pillaged him and pillaged the defense like we're defenseless now. No, but what is the logic? That's what I'm saying. What is their defense? What are they saying that you guys are doing?
Well, two things. They prefer it to be on autopilot, right? They want to have the baseline and the discretionary budget just be sitting there with the money rolling into the future rather than having to earn it. And we've kind of set it up so you have to earn it. Number two, they want to be able to control the money, right? They want to go sit down with all their lobbyist buddies and all of the contractors who have been controlling our defense world for the last...
You hear that? Lobbyists, contractors, guys. I'm like, to me, oh my goodness, if there is any fraud, waste, and abuse, guys, because I'm not joking, to fathom spending $1 trillion a year, $1 trillion, guys, people can't even fathom that large of number because it's just so big and so much money. And if there's anything that we found out is the federal government is the worst at keeping account of the money. And whenever, remember, and I'm going to show you this in a moment, they have not passed a financial audit in the past 7 years. The defense hasn't. There's a reason for that, guys. Fraud.
Last quarter century and longer, right? I mean, going all the way back to the mid-20th century, right? I mean, I think it was Eisenhower that talked about the defense industrial complex. The fact is, all of those folks are the ones that have been deciding how this works. And what do we have now? A military that is not modern, It's not up to speed. We're getting outpaced down in the South Pacific. We're woke. We've got a Navy that is aging. We don't have missiles that are up to date and modern. We don't have a Golden Dome, Iron Dome equivalent that Israel has. We don't have the drone technology we need. So we need to do that while cutting the waste at the Pentagon. Pete says he's going to cut the waste. Great. We'll hold the budget flat. You go cut waste, take that out, use it for troop pay, move it to assets, and we're going to go put a pot of money over here that we're giving you to go modernize the military. And if they do that, and we're moving along, then in 2 years we can revisit it. But right now we need to hold it down flat. That's why Wicker's mad. That's why McConnell's mad. They want their sandbox. They want all their lobby buddy money and to be able to sit down and they can bring home the bacon for the helicopters and the jets and their districts and all the stuff they always do to enrich their local folks at the expense of our military being as strong as it needs to be.
If you go back, let's just go back for the last 10 years. I mean, so for the MAGA base to get their hands around this and also to have some sort of, not assurance, but at least comfort that there's some fiduciaries that are looking at this. If you go back and let's go back 10 years and you just do an average and, we've spent, excluding the operational things that were spent for Afghanistan, because that was a side pocket. If you just look at running the building, in the material commands and all that, you spent, I don't know, $5, $6, $7 trillion over the last decade, accumulative. And yet we're here, and there's a consensus from the side that wants to spend more money and from the side of us that don't want to spend more money and want bigger cuts, that we have the military's aged, the equipment's aged, is not kept up. A lot of the systems are wrong. There's a mismatch between actual capabilities and strategy, and particularly if you look at this hemispheric defense from Panama to Greenland, more of a naval strategy, the Central Pacific, the Three Island Chain, all of that, getting away from more, as President Trump negotiates, with the Russians, Ukraine, the Middle East, Persia, putting the guns down, that how do people then get assurance and say, hey guys, you've spent $6 or $7 trillion over the last decade, and we're here now in May of 2025, and you're telling me the reason we got to spend now $1 trillion a year is that the systems are old, the systems are mismatched. How is anybody, there's no authority that can step forward and say, look, a group of wise men and say, hey, this is really makes sense, et cetera, because essentially everybody's been shredded on the credibility because it just looks like it looks like almost a money laundering operation. 100%. Am I wrong in that the American people that should be asking about this, sir?
Guys, how in the world do you get aged equipment? Things are outdated. Technology is old. Nothing is up to date. And then we're spending more and more and more money. It has to be going somewhere. And if it's not going to fix the systems we got, then it's going into people's pockets. It's going into somebody's bank account. That's not where it's supposed to be going. Guys, if you appreciate this, if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, guys. Tom Jackson, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's go, baby. Y'all show Tom some love in the chat. Guys, show Brian McGavick some love in the chat. Guys, I want you to hear this because, again, they're dialing deep. You just heard from a representative, guys, what they're doing on this whole defense budget. Because, look, the facts are the facts. I have it right here. I asked Grok, and I'm going to show you this. What are the biggest expenditures? Because, guys, we bring the receipts. That's the most important part, is we bring the dang receipts. I asked Grok what, and this is the AI with X, what is the largest expenditures in the United States? Well, guess what? Social Security, $1.5 trillion, 22% of budget. Medicare and Medicaid, $1.84 trillion combined. So Trump already said we're not touching Medicare, we're not touching Social Security or Medicaid. Well, guess what? You have to go to what's next. Interest on the national debt. Can't do nothing about that. Got to pay the interest. Next thing is the national defense. So this is where it makes logical sense. We have to find the fraud, waste, and abuse, and that's what they're trying to target. This right here, guys, is the facts. We're dealing with the facts. Now, listen to this, because they're digging deep, coming from Congress with certain individuals that actually have a backbone to stand up for truth. Check this out.
Mr. Gill, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for holding this hearing. It's nice to be part of a bipartisan hearing where I think we can all agree on what our goals are here. And thank you to the witnesses as well for taking the time here. Mr. Mansfield, can you remind us what the Department of Defense's budget was in 2017?
It was $909 billion.
In 2017? Okay, it was about 582 billion, roughly. Do you know what it was in 2024?
Last year was around
910 billion. So it's a pretty substantial increase, is it not? That's a lot of money.
Sorry. Yes, I didn't have my mic on. I apologize.
And can you remind us if the DoD has ever passed an audit?
At the agency-wide level, no.
Got it. And how many?
At the agency-wide level, the DoD has never passed a budget. They've never passed an audit. The Department of Defense has never passed an audit, and nobody thought to say anything? Are you freaking kidding me? Guys, I'm so blown out of my mind that we in America are this ignorant and naive to our taxpayer dollars being spent. They want more of your taxpayer dollars, but you just heard they've never have passed an audit.
Audits has it had recently?
7 full-scale audits.
Mm-hmm. And how much do those cost?
So this year, the cost of audit is right around $211 million.
$211 million this year.
I think that's right. Yes.
So it's a lot of money. That's a pretty substantial audit, is it not?
It is.
Got it. And can you sort of walk us through some of the high-level reasons why the DoD hasn't been able to pass an audit?
Well, it goes back to what we've been talking about here. Systems is one of the main things, right? And then more importantly, you can have the best system in the world, but if the data that's within that system isn't accurate, reliable, and supported,
doesn't matter.
The system doesn't matter. So it gets to the fundamentals of accounting and just operationalizing good controls. So when you receive a shipment, you count how many things are in it, you validate that the cost of your charge is what you expected, you make sure you've got the right line of funding to pay for that, and then you make sure it's in your books in the appropriate place so you know where it's at and what the condition is. If those pieces are missing, the systems aren't going to matter. And then as Mr. Khan indicated, the other thing is the planning process for the department and the way it makes decisions. They're made piecemeal. They're made throughout the department individually for the good of the individual entity, not always with consideration for the overall DoD approach. And so I think that is one of the reasons why I have so many problems setting milestones and sticking with them is so many individuals making decisions for their own interest versus stepping back and saying, what's the best system for multiple entities using at the same time.
So you have a pretty good idea what needs to be done in order to pass an audit, at least at a high level. Can you help us understand why we haven't passed an audit recently?
But just lack of execution on the fundamentals is what I would say.
And who's held accountable for that?
Right there.
And what are the consequences whenever the DoD fails to pass an audit?
Well, the real consequence is lack of confidence for the taxpayer in the DoD's ability to account for and spend its money.
I agree, but within the DoD, for instance, is there somebody who gets fired, who gets demoted, who sees their bonuses decreased? Is there any actual action taken against any individual or group within the DoD for failing to pass an audit?
I can't speak to individual personnel actions, but I can say in recent years, the DoD has added, at least at the executive level, an element in the performance plans for their executives related to financial readiness, getting down to the ability to support individual transactions. So there's an accountability measure they have now. It's up to the department's management to use that effectively in order to spur change, though.
Right, but in other words, we're talking about a budget of hundreds of billions of dollars every single year and large portions of that are unaccounted for. We don't know where this money is going. This is taxing my constituents, all of our constituents here, hardworking Americans to to keep our country safe, which again is something we all agree with, and we haven't seen anybody fired for what seems to be appears to be largely a total lack of accountability. We haven't seen any punitive measures against anybody in the DOD. Is that right?
Not that I'm aware of.
Got it.
Nothing. So think about this. Can't pass an audit. Nobody's held accountable. Nobody gets fired. Nothing happens. They spend into oblivion. They spend whatever they want. Everybody does whatever the heck they want, and nothing ever happens. Like this right here, guys, is what's wrong with America. This is the deep state. This is the elitists. This is the people that tell you better pay your taxes, but you better not ask us what we do with that tax money, because that's our business, not your business. But we are supposed to serve you, but you're really serving us. What I'm about to show you next, guys, is the biggest joke ever, and this is why. I'm telling you guys, this stuff makes me want to run for Congress because I'm so sick and tired of seeing the waste, fraud, and abuse, but it's going to take a whole revolution to get past what you're seeing now.
You know, I think that as we're thinking about hundreds of billions of dollars that should be keeping the American people safe, the American people expect transparency, they expect accountability, they expect to know where their hard-earned tax dollars are going, and we've got to see some progress here. So thank you very much for your time.
Guys, look at this right here, because this is why I want to see Biden and Biden officials, their butts in jail. Biden spent $3 billion to build 60,000 electric mail trucks. We only got 93. He auctioned off 20 tons of the taxpayer-funded border wall steel for $5 a piece before it got stopped. The White House also sent $170 billion to Ukraine and can't track $6.2 billion of it. The Pentagon can't track $2.3 trillion of the military spending in the past 2 years. The U.S. Treasury can't track $5 trillion of pandemic spending. This is what causes inflation. Hardworking Americans pay for it all, and by having their taxes increase for what? For what? Y'all aren't held accountable. You don't do what you're supposed to do. But I promise you this. You don't pay your property taxes, or you don't pay to the IRS, and they'll come and put your butt in jail. This is what bothers me so much, guys. And this is why what you're about to see next matters so much. I don't care if you don't like Tesla. I don't care if you don't like SpaceX. But what you should like is finding out and exposing the fraud, waste, and abuse. Listen to this.
You know, you grew up in South Africa. You lived during a period of apartheid. I'm sure you've seen a lot of horrific things. So to be called a Nazi by people, to be made out to be this monster, that must be really hard for you.
Well, I mean, look, it's a relentless propaganda campaign, which obviously President Trump has experienced for a very long time, 20 years, maybe longer. And politics is a blood sport. So they're going to come up with whatever attacks they can to destroy the public perception of someone. Now, obviously, I've not harmed anyone in my life. So it's an outrageous thing to claim that I'm a Nazi, because the issue with Nazis was not their mannerisms or their choice of dress, but the fact that they killed all these people. That's the issue. They've also called President Trump a Nazi, and I think there's one publication that said he's worse than President Trump is worse than Hitler, Stalin, and maybe Mao combined. I'm like, but he also is not a violent person, and in fact has done a lot to prevent wars and stop wars. Which is the very opposite of being a Nazi, actually.
Right. Ironic how that works out.
Yes, but it is disappointing how well propaganda works.
Yeah.
If you repeat a lie, the sort of he's a Nazi lie enough times, some people actually believe it. Especially people that still believe the legacy news. So if they still think that what CNN says, with the exception of Scott Jennings, is true, then, they called me a Nazi on CNN. So if someone believes CNN, then they would say, oh, he must be, that's a Nazi. That's because they said it on TV. The person on the TV said it.
Mm-hmm.
But they really are trying every angle to get me. So they would for sure try, if they could press a button and kill me in reality, they would press that button immediately.
Wow.
But since I'm a little difficult to kill, they are doing character assassination instead.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to...
Guys, let me tell you this. This is, again, everybody needs to be held accountable. And I showed you, and I told you in the beginning, guys, if you appreciate this, if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, guys, thank you so much, Scott Matthews, for the super chat. Let's go. Y'all show Scott some love in the chat. This is why what you're about to see next is so important, guys. This has to happen. The Supreme Court right now is fighting with Trump, Jim Jordan, Elon Musk, but we've got the Department of Justice that needs to do their dang job. Listen to this. This is Tom Fitton, who is over the Judicial Watch, who is actively suing the DOJ and the FBI for a lot of stuff because they need to hop to it.
When is Pam Bondi going to prosecute Garland? And if not, why not? The audio tapes are one thing, but does she agree that the decision that only Peter Navarro goes to jail for obstructing Congress, only Steve Bannon goes to jail for obstructing Congress, is that the rule? They don't need 6 months to make a case on this. This is a pending issue.
Mm-hmm.
It was resolved by the prior administration. Obviously, Garland wasn't going to prosecute himself with the Justice Department. What's so hard about figuring out whether you're going to prosecute someone? Or at least announce that you're looking at the issue.
Yep. There again, people are asking common sense questions, guys. People are wondering when the crap is something going to happen. Because Trump, I can tell you this, Trump, everything that we've been reporting, he's kicking butt right now. But what bothers me is that we're not seeing enough action, arrest, prosecution from Trump's justice team. Listen to this.
Alina Habba is the interim U.S. Attorney for New Jersey, joins us now. It is so entertaining to watch the media always forget about the initial crime, right, and just jump to defend what really was indefensible, which is what was done to this man over those last couple of years, a story that you know better than anybody. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's true. I think that watching that reporter say, you know, you strong-armed them is unbelievable. I think that you have to look back as far as the Durham report. You have to look at the Russia hoax. You have to look back to 2016, 2015, and these were the firms that were not really acting as law firms. That's the truth of it. In my opinion, these were people that were colluding, they were hiding, they were masking, and they were targeting. And those are things that you are not permitted to do on many levels, right? There's ethics, generally for attorneys. There is also politics, which you're not supposed to be involved in. And then there is just blatant disregard for anything in factual basis. And the reality is they probably signed because they knew that they didn't want any investigations opened into them. Now, I wasn't there for those conversations, but those are very big boys, as the president referred them to. They know what they're doing. Yeah. And if they were willing to do it, there's a reason.
Yeah, and the secret that I think a lot of people don't understand is I live in New York, and I know a lot of people that work inside of these, you know, these big firms like Quinn Emanuel, for example, where you just have, and I've just heard stories about it's just radically left. Your political affiliation is very important. If you are conservative, you have to hide it. They will run you out of there. So these are not just innocent law firms that got hired by Democrats to, you know, I mean, these are political operatives inside of these firms, and they have been for a long time. They're very corrupted politically inside of these places. You really can't even be openly conservative
and they have access.
Yeah.
And Rob, they have access to the FBI, these clearances that they're talking about. They have access to the FBI. They have access to, places that when you are targeting individuals, you really should not have access to. And what he did was not wrong. It was absolutely a misuse of privileges, and they are privileges that are entrusted in you if you have clearances, and they come with responsibility. And when those responsibilities are abused, they get revoked.
Hearing demands now for due process, Alina, for the millions imported by Biden. Take a listen to this from last night.
If you're going to have 21 million people, and if we have to get a lot of them out because they're criminals, we're going to have to act fast. We can't. Do you think we can give 21 million trials? Let's say each trial takes 2 weeks. Is that what you want us to do?
The law
Give
is the
21
law,
million?
sir. The law is the law, and you're
the law
sworn
doesn't
to
say anything
uphold it.
about trials.
In our country, even bad guys get due process, right?
If people come into our country illegally, there's a different standard. These are illegal. They came in illegally.
But they get due process.
Well, they get a process where we have to get them out.
It's
Yeah, the president's right on
we've
that,
dumped
Rob.
millions. Yeah, go ahead.
No, well, just so you understand, and this is a point that I really think needs to be made, the Department of Justice and these illegal aliens have been given through ICE, through administrative judges, are given due process. They go through and get a warrant to deport them because they are proven to be illegally here or criminals and are told by a warrant signed by an administrative judge that they are to be detained and deported. They have been given due process. What this gentleman is uneducated about and is speaking about is saying that you should try them as if there's some sort of civil litigation or criminal lawsuit. That's not what this is.
Guys, under Obama from 2009 to 2017, 5.3 million immigrants were deported. A significant portion of those immigrants, 83% of them, were removed under non-judicial expedited removal. The immigrants were removed without appearing before an immigration judge. So 83% of the 5.2 million were removed in a fashion that is exactly what Trump is doing. And now that Trump is doing it, it's wrong. If this is not complete bias, judiciary, coming from these rogue judges, coming from the news outlets, guys, I don't know what it is. Fact check me. I'm reading all this stuff off the actual documents, guys. This is blowing my mind how Obama did it with no recourse, no fight. Nobody came against him. No news network interviewed him to say, why are you removing people with non-judicial expedited removal? Their due process. They need to get due process. Didn't do anything of that. But now that Trump's trying to do it just because it's Trump, oh, now we got to make sure we give them due process exactly like American citizens. This is a load of you-know-what.
There are warrants. That's what ICE is created for. And they're being deported to protect Americans. We have wasted enough taxpayer dollars, in my opinion, in courts, as you saw and I've seen for the past 4 years. We need to clean up the streets. We don't want them voting. They were here for different reasons. We know what they were. I won't speak to them right now because of my role, but I will tell you this. These people have been given due process. Judges signed orders so that they could be taken out of the country.
We are moving forward. And guys, I got to show you this. I'm telling you.
I'm going to say something.
This guy is going to be one of the front runners for the Democratic Party. Because everything that everybody says, he calls them out. And he's on the Democratic side. Like, guys, this is... I would not doubt it if he becomes the primary, guys. Listen to this. Stephen A.
I'm going to say something that isn't popular to say, but you know something? The Democrats need to hear this. Y'all are very, very fond of talking about how Donald Trump lies. Some of the things that have made people uncomfortable about Donald Trump, I got news for you. He hasn't lied. Didn't he say tariffs was what he was going to live by? Did he not say that he was going to close those damn borders? I believe he said that. Did he not say that he was going to address crime in our streets? and things were going to get very, very bad for lawless individuals out there? Did he not provide indications that he could give a damn about the civil rights and the human rights of individuals that were considered lawless? Did he not say, or at least indicate, that come hella high water, the culture that we were living in, we were going to dial that back? Did he not talk about the LGBTQ plus community, specifically as it pertains to transgenders and athletes not being allowed to transition from male to female and be able to compete in women's sports? Did he not say these things? Yes, he did.
Exactly. That's the thing. And again, too, the Democrats are completely imploding on themselves, guys. This is some of the best news ever. Record shows that Adam Schiff financed a $1.7 million Maryland home as his principal address. Maryland home, guys. Maryland. California Representative Adam Schiff is facing explosive allegations of fraud, voter fraud, and election misconduct spanning nearly 20 years. Shifty Schiff cheated the system just like how Letitia James did. And they went after Trump for the very thing that they were doing. Schiff declared his Maryland home as his primary residence since 2003. Really? So if that's your primary residence, which helps you get lower interest rates, how are you a representative in the Senate for California? Must be fraud. Mortgage fraud, election misconduct, voter fraud. It's all coming out, guys. The people that went after Trump for all the corruption, they said he did this and this and this and that, were the very same people that actually did it themselves. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys, because again, we're going to see justice. I just hope that we see it faster. I want to see more people held accountable. Look, I'm going to show you again. Trump is doing his dang job, guys. He's defunding things. He is exposing the darkness, the evil that's in our country right now. Listen to this.
Shit. I've been waiting for this day. Trump's coming out swinging, and I'm going to get to the budget that was just released with the guy behind that budget, the OMB director, at the White House in my next block. But more importantly, Trump just defunded NPR and PBS. Thank God. All right. He said, quote, government funding of news media in his environment is not only outdated and unnecessary, but corrosive to the appearance of journalistic independence. At the very least, Americans have the right to expect that if their tax dollars fund public broadcasting at all, they fund only fair, accurate, unbiased, and nonpartisan news coverage. You guys at NPR, you can kiss your $535 million bye-bye. You monolithic, groupthink Trump haters. NPR, the subsidiary of the Corporation for Public Broadcast. Now, they have 87 registered Democrats and 0 Republicans in their newsroom. A biased media machine like that shouldn't...
You heard him, guys. It is a proven fact. Out of all the editors and the people working at NPR, there is 0 Republicans. 0, guys. Complete 100% Democrats. And tell me that that dang news outlet is not biased.
Get a penny of my tax dollars, especially not when this is their CEO.
I think our reverence for the truth might have become a bit of a distraction that is preventing us from finding consensus and getting important things done.
The number one challenge here that we see is, of course, the First Amendment in the United States is a fairly robust protection of rights.
Well, thank God it's a protection of rights against people like you. Oh, and the truth is a distraction from getting things done. Are you high? Are you kidding me? We give this woman, forget defunding her organization, I want a refund for as long as she has worked there. Maybe even consider charging her with something. Deprivation of rights. And despite all that, she sits there and says that she is not biased.
Talking about NPR, NPR is not biased in its coverage.
whatever she's smoking has got to be illegal. Lady, you are the definition of bias. Oh, Carl, what about all these people who rely on these jobs to feed their families? Enough of that. That is not the concern of NPR and PBS. And if NPR and PBS had been concerned about doing their actual job, like journalisming, rather than partisan attacks against their now boss, Trump, maybe, just maybe, some of them might still have a job. No, Carl, Trump is seeking revenge. Probably. I'm fine with it. I mean, wouldn't you? Imagine for like 12 years.
Let's go. Guys, if you appreciate this, if you don't mind, hit the thumbs up like button. Man, this makes me happy seeing this news.
Coverage you got from these people was slanted, it was horrible, and at times even they just lied about stuff. They just made stuff up. They employed people who made a career trashing Donald Trump and then tried to keep him from getting elected, and now he's their boss. There is not a soul on the planet who can honestly sit there and say, yeah, if that was me, I would keep these people. But no way, for Pete's sake. NPR, they fire their own people for slightly turning on the liberal narrative. Remember this guy, Yuri Berliner? Remember him? He was a senior business editor at NPR who was forced to resign in 2024 after publishing a piece, just told the truth, accusing NPR of adopting a left-wing stance where race and identity were, quote, paramount. He claimed NPR's Washington, D.C. newsroom had 87 registered Democrats and 0 registered Republicans, citing voter registration data, and argued his imbalance led to bias coverage, such as downplaying the Hunter Biden laptop. And you know what? He was right. It was all fact. They suspended him for that, basically forced him to resign. So don't tell me you're some sort of unbiased network. Bye-bye. You guys fired Juan Williams for saying something that was his personal opinion. He said on TV while talking about terrorism in 2010, he said, quote, when I get on a plane, I got to tell you, I see people who are in Muslim garb and I think, they're identifying themselves first and foremost as Muslims. I get worried, I get nervous, end quote. NPR fired him because they said Juan's comments violated the journalistic standards by promoting stereotypes. I actually think they fired him because he was becoming increasingly more moderate. He's still a lib, but he's a moderate lib while he was appearing on Bill O'Reilly at the time. But that standard that they just cited to fire Juan Williams doesn't apply to everyone. They didn't make Andrea Cortescrescu or whatever his name is. They didn't make him resign. All they did was make him apologize for saying that, quote, evaporation of 4 million Christians would make the world instantly better.
Wow.
Wow. That's a lot worse than what Juan Williams said.
Guys, again, this stuff, this is a lot of stuff people don't know, guys. This is a lot of stuff that people have never heard about. But when it comes to our taxpayer dollars, when it comes to your hard-earned money that's been used for this crap, I'm telling you, this is what makes me happy that Trump is finally doing something about it. He defunded them because they are completely biased. They use so much propaganda against him, and they're funded $500 million by the government.
Or how about this?
That relationship doesn't exist on the Democratic side. There isn't sort of an anti-white racism that's driving Democrats the way that there's anti-black racism driving Trump support.
What? Yes, there is. That woman is totally backwards. But that was totally fine to say. You guys can say that Trump supporters are driven by anti-black racism, which we're not. This is the problem with the media. I have said this before. They exist in this bubble, and they give each other awards for this stuff, too. You remember that interview that Kamala Harris did where they cut out all of her stumbling, bumbling, rambling, and they spliced it all together to make it look like she had more than a brain cell and a half? Trump sued over it, which is still in litigation right now. And the interview was widely criticized as the most insane thing with the least journalistic integrity in the last election cycle, maybe in the last century. But did you know the same community, the same ones freaking out about NPR getting defunded? This is why I don't care about them. Because they nominated the guy who did that interview for an Emmy, if you can believe it. Dude, you got your network sued. You were the laughingstock of every normal American, and you got an award for it. You definitely helped Trump get elected, so thanks for that. Maybe that's what the Emmy's for. That's why I always said, if I'm ever nominated for any award by any of those people, I will pay the travel expenses for my garbage man to go collect it in a trash can.
What?
Because their barometer is so off on what is important. What is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong. Perfect example. The New York Times, the failing New York Times that I love to hate, did a slobbering love affair piece on this guy, Hassan Piker, okay, calling him the Joe Rogan of the left. He's not even close. I've literally never heard of him until someone sent me this New York Times piece as a joke. It's called A Progressive Mind in a Body Made for a Manosphere. I don't even know what that is, but okay.
Guys, isn't it crazy that when it comes to the left, that if a man shows any resemblance of actually being a man, it is something to be looked at. And if they have progressive ideology, but they actually look like a man, it is very just like, it's so exquisite, guys. I want you to see this because what you're about to hear next, guys, plays into this. Donald Trump posted and said, can it be so that judges aren't allowing the USA to deport criminals, including murderers, out of our country and back to where they came from? If this is so, our country as we know it is finished. Americans will have to get used to a very different crime-filled life. This is not what our founders had in mind. Trump, again, going back to what makes America great. Freedom, safety, security, the willingness to be able to bust your butt and make something of yourself. But what we've seen is we have been paying to indoctrinate our own people with certain ideologies that are contrary to being what America truly is.
They basically said, wow, he's the first in-shape socialist we've had in our party, acknowledging basically that their party is comprised of a bunch of noodle-armed apocalypse food. This whole piece is, oh my God, he's so sexy, he lifts weights, and he has a podcast. Oh my God, it's just so dumb. Basically, he's a socialist, activist liberal who wandered into a GNC, has a moderate workout plan, and, quote, according to him, or according to the article, can spend up to 10 hours a day recording in his studio where there are no fewer than 10 swords. Cool story, bro. I mean, this is the left desperately trying to boost anyone with a bit of, like a microcosm of testosterone in their party in hopes of not associating Democrats with weakness for the next election cycle. This is the dude the New York Times chose to prop up. Okay, but before you make him your hero, there's a few things you should probably know about him that the New York Times conveniently left out. First off, he openly declares himself as a socialist. Next, fairly recently, he said that America deserved 9/11. He also said that in an interview about October 7th, where the reporter said there's no context for murdering hundreds of Israeli teenagers, Hassan said, yes, I think there is.
Wow.
I mean, like, I've been to war. They're not really, like, there's context for innocent people that are being murdered? No, not really. He also said, in similar context, quote, if rapes happen, it changes nothing of my perspective. At least they're raping other rich kids. Quote, the blood should flow in the streets. All in relation to the Hamas attack.
Guys, again, the people that, how is it even possible that the people that the left idolize are crazy left-wing nuts, guys? It blows my mind. I want to say, guys, thank you so much to everybody who is watching, guys, all of our viewers, all of our subscribers, guys. Thank you so much for your support. If you're not subscribed, please consider joining our family. We want you here, guys. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button so we can take care of you every day with the best top news, breaking news, keeping you up to date. Guys, we are usually a day or two ahead of the mainstream media, guys. We show you everything. And just want to say, if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, guys, it really does help out so much with your support. Guys, all the super chats, all the memberships, we're growing a community that is changing lives, guys. That's what this community is about. And it's all because of you. Guys, you see me. You see me every day. You hear my thoughts. You hear this. What you see is what you get, guys. There is no faking it. When you're getting 2 shows a day from me, Monday through Friday, one on Saturday, one on Sunday, for hours upon hours, you hear my heart, and I want to help put America in a better place. I want America to be put first. I want to help out our seniors, our kids, our families, guys. That's what matters most. and we're doing that through this channel. When you're a member, when you give a super chat, we use the donations. We give back to charity once a month. On the 22nd of every month, we give back. And guys, we've already given back over $33,000. Thank God. With your support, we're partnering with you, and we're growing this goodness in this world. Sherry Garcia, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's go. Said, see how they are missing "We are the people of the United States"? Get everything the Constitution provides, not illegals, and they are not of the United States. 100%. Y'all show Sherry some love in the chat, as well as Tom Jackson, Scott Matthews, our boy Brian McGavick. Guys, show them some love in the chat. If you got a free membership from Brian, show him some love in the chat, guys. Thank you so much for your support. Remember, we're here to serve you. We love you. We thank you. And we'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.